Hello and welcome to Catholic Answers Live. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. Very happy to be with you. Thank you so much for being with us on this Wednesday afternoon or evening, wherever you are. Maybe it's a Thursday morning where you are. We've got 2 hours of open forum for you today. Jimmy Akin, our guest, senior apologist here at Catholic Answers. Hi, Jimmy Akin.
Hi, Cy Kellett.
But that's not all we're doing. Open forum today.
True. That is true.
We also got.
You have said a true thing.
Thank you. I've been working on it.
You're not lying as much.
No,
That's great.
Way less
what an
lying.
accomplishment.
Way less lying. And this is the truth as well. We got to raise some money. This is the middle day of our 3-day pledge drive. We come to you each quarter to ask you to fund us for the next quarter. And we've got some matches this hour that we'll talk about, but let me give you some numbers. If you'd be willing to call and support Catholic Answers Live right now, 888-291-8000 is the number, 888-291-8000. Or you can go safe and secure online to CatholicAnswersRadio.com, CatholicAnswersRadio.com. I want to let you know that yesterday in the second hour, we met our match. As a matter of fact, we were very grateful. It was a very good first day. So we are well on our way to meeting our goal, our overall goal of $225,000.
We're a third of the way,
which is perfect.
Which is where we need to be at this time. A third or better. We're at exactly a third, so we need to do another third today.
And to help you, to encourage you along in that, we've got a $15,000 match. A donor has given us that $15,000 and said, if you can match it, you can have it. And you can call and get every dollar matched up to $15,000. But we have that other match, which is for many of you will not just double your money, but triple it. If you are a new monthly donor, or if you...
if you are not currently a monthly donor, then if you sign up, make a monthly donation, then that will be double matched. So it will effectively be tripled.
Yeah, triple your money. So if you want to make a monthly pledge, say, of $10, it'll be $30 a month for us for the entire year. If you want to do $30, it'll be $90. If you want to do $90, it'll be some even higher number than that,
270. Yeah. Just think it's easy. It's 3 cubed.
Yeah, exactly.
Times 10.
888-291-8000. I don't want you to feel like we're not going to do our regular job, though, because we only come to you 6 hours out of each quarter, and we only use a little bit of each hour to let you know that we're raising funds. No phones have rung yet here in the building. Our colleagues are waiting by on the phones. So I'll give out the number again, 888-291-8000, 888-291-8000. That other number I almost gave was the number to call for to ask your question for Jimmy, because it's open forum. Open forum is open to anyone on any kind of question that you've got, whether it's on the Catholic faith, the Catholic sacraments, maybe a moral or philosophical or even a scientific question. We don't care. When Jimmy's here, you can ask whatever you want. That number, I will just give out this once, and then we'll go back to the fundraising number. If you have a question for Jimmy, 888-318-7884. A lot of work to do, Jimmy, to raise 1/3 of our financing for the next 3 months.
Indeed. And we want to say thank you to some of the folks who have already been able to be helpful to us, who were able to make donations yesterday. These include people, some of them quite sizable. These include people like Charles from Colorado, who donated $1,200, and Andres from California, who donated another $1,200, Thomas from Massachusetts, $1,000, Janice from Ohio, $2,400, and we really appreciate that. We appreciate donations of every size, but because of the scope of the need, if we are going to be fully funded, if we are going to meet our goal, then we will need people who are able to make some larger donations. Either that or lots more people making smaller ones. We'll take it either way.
Either way, right?
But yesterday I mentioned, for some of these larger amounts, it can be needed to consult with a spouse and things like that. So I encouraged people to do that last night and then be ready today and tomorrow to be able to act on what they thought that they were in a position to be able to do. And it doesn't have to be all at once, because if you donate just $84 a month, it's less than $100, but $84 a month would be a $1,000 donation, and that would make you a member of the Catholic Answers President's Club, which has a bunch of benefits, including you get a copy of everything that we publish during the coming year, all the magazines, all the books, all the booklets, all the DVDs, all the things, and you want all the things. So that's just $84 a month. Also, if you're able to do $417 a month, that would add up to $5,000 a year, which would put you in the Catholic Answers Founders Circle, which has additional benefits, including being invited to our annual Founders Retreat, which is an occasion where we interact with our founders and are able to show them what we're planning and get their input on the future growth and activities of the ministry.
888-291-8000 is the place to go and make your pledge. I want to especially encourage those who could take up a monthly pledge, whether it's $10, $15, $20, or as Jimmy said, maybe it's one of those $84 a month pledges, or you can do even more than that. It gets tripled up to $115,000. That's an extraordinary thing.
Go ahead.
Just 888-291-8000.
Also, we have some thank you gifts that we'd like to send people at lower levels as well. Cy, can you tell us about those?
If you can come in at that $10 per month level, you become a member of Society 315, a new thing that we started this year. It's become very popular. There are hundreds of members now. We may be into the thousands, I don't know, around the world. When you join with your $10 a month pledge, it gets tripled. If you're making that pledge right now, it doesn't if you join not during the pledge drive, but right now it gets tripled. You get the Society 315 T-shirt, you get the car magnet, the Catholic Answers car magnet, and then you get all these exclusives that our development department produces with us, where we do interviews, where we put cameras up when we're doing stuff in the offices here or on retreat, and you can participate. We'd love to have you be a member of Society 315. $10 a month, and you're a member. And it's $30 a month to us immediately. If you can go $20 a month, we'd like to put you into Society 315. You get all the benefits of that, but you also get the new book, relatively new book, Pope Peter, Defending the Church's Most Distinctive Doctrine in a Time of Crisis, from our own Joe Heschmeyer, and Scott Hahn's latest book with Dr. Benjamin Weicker, The Decline and Fall of Sacred Scripture, How the Bible Became a Secular Book. I got to read that one, and it is a beauty. You're going to love it. If you can do $45 a month, or if you want to do it as a one-time donation, that's fine, but $45 a month, it's tripled right now because we have the 2 matches going at the moment, and you get all that stuff I just mentioned, but you also get a free copy of Jimmy's class for the Catholic Answers School of Apologetics on Bible Difficulties Part 1. You get the DVD set. So you're getting hard copies of all this stuff. You get the DVD set, you get the workbook, share it with the family, enjoy it yourself, Bible Difficulties. That's $45 a month. And then, as Jimmy mentioned, $84 a month would get you into the President's Club in addition, and $417 a month would make you a member of our Founders Circle, an exclusive group.
And I just checked the board, and we've got 22 employees here standing by, waiting to take your calls, and 3/4 of them are open. So if you call right now, you'll get right through, no wait time, and you'll be able to make your pledge very quickly, and it only takes moments. So please give us a call, 888-291-8000, and light up those phone lines.
888-291-8000. We'll go to the other phone now and put Jimmy to work answering some questions. We'll go to Stefan in Gothenburg.
Ooh, I have a question for Stefan once he's on.
All right. He's listening on Catholic.com. Hang on there. Stefan, you there with us?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, Stefan.
So, Stefan, are you in Gothenburg, Sweden?
Yep.
Oh, wow. How cool.
That is really nice.
You may know this, Stefan, but a lot of our audience will not. So back in the 1700s, there was a guy named Emanuel Swedenborg, and he was kind of a mystic and kind of a heretic. But he was having dinner in 1759. He was having dinner with friends in Gothenburg, and he announced that he was having a psychic vision or impression that a fire had just broken out in Stockholm near his house. And 2 hours later, he announced that it had stopped short of his house. His house was okay. And all this turned out to be true. And the philosopher Immanuel Kant later wrote about this in his philosophical writings.
Did you know all of that, Stefan?
I did know about the Swedenborg and that he had like radical views.
He did.
I didn't know about that he predicted a fire, so to say.
Well, I got to make a recommendation to you, then you can ask Jimmy your question then. There's a great show on the internet called Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World, where you get all kinds of stuff like that. Stefan, go ahead with your question for Jimmy.
Yeah. Earlier today, I happened to get in a discussion with someone who was like a perfectionist who believed that you could become perfect in this life. So I was wondering what the church fathers believed about that.
Okay, so because the Gospels record Jesus saying things like, be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect, there has always been a strand of discussion in Christian history that talks about perfection in this life. And the real issue is, well, when you talk about being perfect, what do you mean? Now, Jesus, I would assume, is talking about being sinlessly perfect. And that's not really an achievable goal for human beings, for fallen human beings in this life. But there are great degrees of holiness that people can achieve by God's grace. And so you will find different kinds of perfectionists. You will find some who think it is possible to become literally sinless in this life. And that is not the case. That is a false view. But you will find others who will say, well, yeah, well, we mean strive for perfection and achieve a perfection in a human way, kind of like when it says that Joachim and Anne were, or that John the Baptist's father and mother were blameless. You know, it doesn't mean literally sinless, but it does mean that they have a high degree of holiness, and that that's something we can and should strive for by God's grace. And so if that's what you mean by perfectionism, it would be orthodox, it would be, theologically permissible, although it's not my preferred way to express things because I think it can be misleading to people.
Okay, Stephan.
And those same themes, sorry, Stephan, just to relate it to your original question, those themes are also found in the Church Fathers.
Okay.
All right. Stephan, can I ask you, did you call us one time before, or is this your first time?
First time.
Oh, first time. Okay, very good. Well, I hope you'll call again. Thanks for the call.
Thank you.
All right, from Sweden all the way to Columbus, Ohio next, but we'll let me just let people know where we are on the pledge drive. I asked him about that because you may remember this, and I don't know if it was a good idea on my part, but the last time a guy called from Sweden, I asked him if he was offended by the Swedish chef.
I remember that. I was here for
and
that.
I didn't know
from
if
the
it was,
Muppet Show.
I decided not to do that with Stephan. I've matured since then. I really have. I've really grown up.
Although, as I recall, the guy said he was not offended by the Swedish Chef.
No, he was not offended. Yes. Thanks again, Stephan. It's our pledge drive right now. We are in the second day of our pledge drive. The number to call to make your pledge is 888-291-8000, and almost every line open, which is a little unfortunate given this. We have a $15,000 dollar for dollar match this hour. You call up, you make a pledge, say you could donate $25. Well, our donor is going to match it. It'll become $50 for us. What if you could do $25 a month? Our donor will match it up to $15,000. So that means the entire year is doubled for us, for you, and that money comes to us. And we're very, very grateful for that. To make your pledge, 888-291-8000. There's also another match, however, if you don't currently have a monthly pledge with us and you start one today, you'll get another doubling of that pledge. So you get tripled, basically. Your money will be tripled right now. Say you can make a $10 pledge, it's a $30 pledge to us. A $100 pledge becomes a $300 pledge, 888-291-8000.
And we will need people to contact us because as of right now, for that $15,000 match for the first hour, we are only 8% of the way there. And the hour is 25% over, so we are behind. We need, in the next 45 minutes, we need to make up that extra distance. So please give us a call, 888-291-8000, or you can go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com.
And we're going to keep doing our regular job, and we took a little while to get to Steph in there, so I'll go back to the phones now to Tim in Columbus, Ohio. But please make those phones ring. All of our colleagues have stopped what they are doing in the other departments, and they're just waiting on their phone for you to call 888-291-8000. Tim in Columbus, Ohio, you are up next. Tim, we're glad to have you. Go ahead with your question for Jimmy.
Thanks for taking my call. My question is, I have a friend who's against all wars, and he's against the death penalty because it prevents the person from giving them a chance to convert, if they're non-Christian, or, to repent if they are Christian. Mm-hmm. And I know the Catholic Church teaches that if you're in a state of mortal sin, but you have the intent to confess, and you were to somehow die before you had that chance, before you had the opportunity to confess, you would actually still go to heaven. So given that God can see the future and see, every which way, you can do in your actions, how does that apply to my friend's proposition?
So it applies in several ways. The first one is that people may have, so in order to be reconciled with God without the sacraments, either baptism or confession, you need to have what's called an act of perfect contrition. And the Church understands that for people who are innocently unaware of their need to come to God consciously and embrace His Son Jesus and receive the sacraments, it is possible for them to be saved as long as they otherwise live up to the degree of information they have and the grace that they have received. And so that would suggest that they have an implicit act of perfect contrition. Also, even if they are Christian or are Catholic and need to go to confession, they can also make that act of perfect contrition and be reconciled with God by that means. And then, even beyond those facts, it's possible for God to reach people in ways we can't even perceive in the last moments of their life. So if someone is on a battlefield, they may have already made an act of perfect contrition, or God may reach them in the last moments of their life and enable them to accept His grace. So all of those things are possible. And that does cast a different light on the question of, is it okay to ever terminate someone else's life? The Church understands that it is possible. I mean, you can, for example, kill in self-defense if there's no other way to protect your life or the lives of others. So the Church would understand that this is something that is not desirable. It is never desirable to have to kill anybody, but it is morally legitimate. And ultimately, it's that person's responsibility. God has given them a life. He's given them the faculties they're using. And if they consistently choose against Him, well, God Himself is not going to make them immortal just to keep them having additional chances. At some point, God will say, this person has had enough chance, and they've just decided that they're not going to accept my grace, and so I'm going to accept that decision. Another thing that your friend is perhaps not taking into account is that actually there are situations like being on death row or going into combat where it focuses the mind on the need to get right with God. And so some people have pointed out that actually, sitting in solemn silence in a dull, dark dock in a pestilential prison with a lifelong lock, awaiting the sensation of a sharp shock from a cheap and chippy chopper on a big black block, will actually encourage you to repent. And so that's another factor that I think needs to be brought into the equation. Encounters with one's likely mortality of itself is an encouragement to repent.
Okay, Tom?
And that's from the Mikado, so people get closure.
I was going to say a little bit of Gilbert and Sullivan there to conclude. That's pretty good.
Thank you. I wanted to start it closer to the punchline, but I couldn't figure out how to do that. So.
Oh, no, that was good. Our number, by the way, I'm only giving out the number for, earlier I gave out the number to call. We've got plenty of folks on the line for Jimmy. If you want to call and you know the number, you're welcome to get in the line. It's open forum. But it's also our pledge drive day. We're almost to the halfway point of our pledge drive now. We got a long way to go. We have $225,000 to raise. That's what we've been told, that $225,000 funds all the stuff including just the fantastic. If you know anything about Catholic Answers social media, you know we've got a very fine young man doing great work on social media. We've got Jimmy with producing the Catholic Answers School of Apologetics and coordinating all of that, and it's a full-fledged school now. There's lots of classes and more classes coming. All the stuff we're trying to do, reaching out with this program and with the podcasts and growing the podcasts, and those of you who have listened to him know we have a very fine new apologist in Joe Heschmeyer. So we're growing, and in order to pay for all the stuff that we're trying to do, $225,000 is the quarterly bill. I think you'll agree that is a very reasonable amount to pay for all of that and more that we do. We think it is. We think you get great bang for your buck in most part, because the most important thing to do in this world is to help people into that relationship with Jesus, which is a saving relationship, that relationship with him and his church that brings people to heaven. And that's what you're doing when you're helping folks like Jimmy Akin, and Tim Staples, and Carlo, and Trent answer people's questions about the Catholic faith. 888-291-8000 is the number. There are 2 matches on right now. Double or triple your money, depending on how you give. 888-291-8000.
And I can see that of the 25 employees we have standing on the line, only 3 of them are currently taking calls. So that means there are 22. Oh, now it's down to 2. There are 23 lines open for you right now.
Wow.
So we do need to hear from you. Please light up the phone lines. The number to call, 888-291-8000. Once again, it's 888-291-8000. And there's no telling who you'll talk to. I can see, for example, that Carlo Broussard is one of the people taking phones right now. Also, Joe Heschmeyer is taking phones right now. It's a couple of Catholic Answers apologists. I believe Christopher Check is.
Yep.
And so there are a bunch of people, some of whose names you will know, that are just waiting to hear from you right now. 888-291-8000.
888-291-8000. Perfect time to pick up the phone and call. We are going to go back to callers' questions shortly. I want to kind of reset a little bit with you about the different levels. So I said there's 2 matches. It works this way. We have a $15,000 match, which you've probably gotten used to. We have these very generous donors who give us matching money for each hour during our pledge drives. This hour, it's $15,000. It's a lot of money. But if you can make a pledge of $10, $50, $100, whatever you make, it's going to be doubled up to $15,000. But starting on our last pledge drive, we had a donor who said, hey, here's what I'll do. I'll match everything. And I think it was $100,000 last time. Now it's $115,000. Every new monthly pledge that you can get. So anyone who doesn't have a current monthly pledge going calls up and says, I'll pledge $10. I'll double it again. Okay, so you got the $15,000 a match. You pledge $10, it becomes $20, and then this other donor also matches it, it becomes $30. It's an extraordinary time to give. It really has changed things around here at Catholic Answers. We're seeing numbers like we haven't seen before, which means we're going to be able to do things we haven't been able to do before. Please pick up those phones and call 888-291-8000. Here's the different levels. At $10 a month, it's going to be tripled, but you also become a member of Society 315. We send you the Society T-shirt and the bumper sticker. It's a magnet bumper sticker, and you get monthly and sometimes more than once a month reserved content that's just for those who are in the society, that giving society, to participate in. All kinds of great stuff. If you can do $20 a month, we'll add 2 books, Joe Heschmeyer's Pope Peter and Scott Hahn and Dr. Benjamin Weiker's book, The Decline and Fall of Sacred Scripture. At $45 a month, we'll throw in Jimmy's course, the newest one at Catholic Answers School of Apologetics. It's the Bible Difficulties Part 1 course. Teaches you about types of Bible difficulties and how to kind of address those.
And I give examples of them, and then as we resolve the difficulties that we discuss in the course, I extract the principles that you can use to apply to other passages to solve even more Bible difficulties.
And if you're one of those people who's like, I'd like the course, but I'd only do it if it came with a workbook, it comes with a workbook, so you get that as well.
And DVDs.
And you get the whole DVD set. I want to mention again, because some folks have been taking advantage of this, I think people are surprised that you can be in the President's Club for $84 a month. I realize that for many of us, $84 a month, way above what we could do. But for those who can do it, $84 a month makes you, in addition to all those other things, and in addition to your donation being tripled right now, it makes you eligible to receive anything we publish in the year that you become a member of the President's Club. You just tell us. You say, I'd like to get the magazine. I want that new book by Jimmy Akin. I want that book by Carlo or Joe or whatever, and we'll send it off to you. That's just $84 a month. 888-291-8000.
And Si, I've got my eye on the clock, and I can see that we're about to come up on a break. And so that means that whatever you're doing right now, this is a great time to call. We have lots of people open for you. I can see right now we've got more than 15 lines open right now. So give us a call. You won't miss anything. This is the ideal time to call and make your pledge. 888-291-8000. Once again, 888-291-8000. Please help us light up those phones.
And more Open Forum with Jimmy Akin right after this.
Catholic Answers Live would like to take this opportunity to thank our partners in airing our daily program. Please support the stations and networks that carry us each day, ensuring that we have a platform for broadcasting the show. And please bear in mind that while we do not have to pay for airtime on our affiliate stations, neither do they contribute to the operating costs we incur. It's a great relationship, but it requires that we turn to you, our devoted listeners, for your prayers and financial support to cover our ever-growing expenses. Please call 888-291-8000 right now and help to keep Catholic Answers Live strong. That's 888-291-8000. Or you can donate securely online at CatholicAnswersRadio.com. What began as a humble one-hour daily show that was carried by 4 radio stations has, with the generosity of many fantastic people like you, blossomed into a 2-hour broadcast heard on hundreds of AM and FM stations, the internet, Sirius XM radio, Facebook, YouTube, and via podcast. We don't make that possible, you do. We simply cannot continue this media mission without your most generous gift today. Call 888-291-8000 or log on to CatholicAnswersRadio.com and donate now. People tell us all the time how much they depend on Catholic Answers Live to help them better learn, live, and share their faith. What they're really saying is they depend on you for that. Will you come through for them right now? It only takes a couple of minutes to make a huge difference at 888-291-8000 or CatholicAnswersRadio.com. Again, 888-291-8000 or CatholicAnswersRadio.com. No matter how much you give, be assured of our gratitude and know that God will richly bless you. Phone 888-291-8000 or go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. It's important that you take this important step right now, today, to make sure that Catholic Answers Live is here tomorrow and for years to come. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Welcome back. Catholic Answers Live, Open Forum. Jimmy Akin here, both hours today, and we got some great calls coming up. Joshua and Fort Bragg, we're coming to you next, and then we'll head out to Austin, Texas, and Maryland, and Fort Worth, and all lots of places. Just want to mention again that we're in the midst, almost to the halfway point of our August pledge drive. It's quarterly. We come to you and ask you to fund operations here at Catholic Answers. You do, and we're so grateful for it. One thing I'll mention again, we mention this sometimes, maybe it'll motivate you a bit, because yesterday there were several people who called and said, I've been listening to for years, and it finally occurred to me, I think I'm going to give. I'm going to support them.
Yay.
And that's wonderful, and we're very grateful for that. And one of the things that people, I think, are surprised to hear is that it's not a giant pool of people who are supporting us, not millions and millions per tower. It's 16 per tower. So we're on hundreds of towers around the country. Mm-hmm. But 16, the average number of people who support us per each radio tower that we're on around the country is 16. So you're part of if you give, you're part of a group of, less than 24 people, very likely, in your area. That's making, and maybe just a dozen.
In
maybe
hexadecimal,
less.
It's like 10.
And if I knew what that meant, I would be amazed at what Jimmy just said.
Well, there are 10 kinds of people in the world, those who understand binary and those who don't.
I'm sure that's true. too. But you get the point. Like it's not if you're listening in Cleveland right now.
Let's break
you know,
hexadecimal. Let's get it up to 17.
Let's break hexadecimal. That's what I was trying to say. See, Jimmy finds a way to say it directly. 888-291-8000, the number 888-291-8000. Let's go to Joshua in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, listening on the Catholic Answers Live app. We're so glad to have you with us, Joshua. Go ahead with your question.
Hello, yes.
Joshua, can you speak directly into the phone and not use speakerphone, please?
Yeah, I'm sorry. My phone won't let me do anything, like not speakerphone wise.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even a phone, it's like an iPod.
Oh, okay.
Fancy. All right. Well, give us your best. Get as close as you can, please, so that we can hear what you got to say.
Okay. So I was reading an article on someone who had transferred rights from the Roman Latin rite to one of the Byzantine rites.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Ruthenian. But so the article, it wasn't like an article, more like a question article type thing, but essentially it was asking, can a Byzantine Catholic use a Greek Orthodox prayer book, because there are very limited resources.
And then, is that what you'd like Jimmy to address?
So I believe so.
Okay.
So the answer is, well, you can use any kind of prayer book you want as long as it doesn't contain anything contrary to the faith. You don't have to be a Byzantine Catholic to use a given prayer book of this nature. I mean, a Latin Rite Catholic could do the same thing. Now, it won't fulfill the hours of prayer, like it's not the Liturgy of the Hours, unless it's the same in the two rites.
Right.
So if you want to do the Liturgy of the Hours or whatever equivalent there is in a given rite, then you would need to use material that either had been approved in that rite or that was known to be identical to it. But in terms of private devotion, you can use any devotion you want as long as it doesn't contain anything contrary to the faith.
And I'm going to leave it there because we do have to share the fundraising message, Joshua. But thank you very, very much for the question. I hope that it was helpful to you. Lines are lighting up, but I got to say about half are remaining open. So I want to invite people, if maybe you're thinking, oh, I'll wait.
Right now, a third.
Really, a third?
I mean,
used?
2/3 are open.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about, I'll call tomorrow, that kind of thing, today would be great because we got all these lines open now, and they do tend to fill up on the last day. 888-291-8000 is the number to call. If you are new to giving a monthly pledge, or I should say it this way, if you don't currently have a monthly pledge.
There you go. That's the phrase.
Then it's tripled. Your money's tripled right now. We've only one time have we ever had this happen before. It was the last pledge drive. It's really become kind of a game changer for us, and maybe it will be for you. Maybe you haven't given before, and you're like, I can give $10 a month. And Catholic Answers will get $30 a month from it. Maura in Ohio did that. Thanks, Maura, very, very much. Thomas from Whitman, Massachusetts, he said, I'll just give him $1,000, and now he's a member of the President's Club. So thank you so very, very much. One person, Janice from Ohio, gave $200 a month. That's extraordinary, Janice, but tripled.
That's awesome.
Tripled. Up to $115,000, that gets tripled. So 888-291-8000 is the number. I do want to keep going back to the phones and letting Jimmy answer questions. It's important that we just keep doing the work that we're here to do. But it's also important that we thank folks and that we ask you for your support, because we can't do what we do without your support. It's it's one of those things where, we all know that the society we live in is in trouble, and we all know it needs certain things like sharing the gospel, sharing the good news of Jesus Christ. But we don't always know how to do it on our own. And one of the ways is to partner with us. Like I can't do the things that Jimmy can do. And there's probably some things I can do that Jimmy can't do.
I'm certain.
But we sit here together, we get a lot done. We get a lot of work done sharing the good news. And we just need you to be part of the team. We all know that the need is there. We think that sharing the good news via the radio and the internet and all the other ways that we share the good news is the way to go. It's the way to help people back to sanity. If you agree with that, a perfect time to give. 888-291-8000. Let us go back to the phones, Jimmy. Let's go to Austin in New York. I think I said we're going to Austin, Texas, but I got confused. It's actually Austin in New York, watching on YouTube. Austin, we're glad to have you. Go ahead with your question for Jimmy.
Hi, my question is, do we, in the Eucharist, do we eat the accidents of Christ? And if not, how do you explain the Eucharistic miracles?
Okay, so the phrase accidents of Christ could be understood more than one way. Now, I should point out this is a philosophical term. It is often used in theology. What accidents mean are, in this context, effectively appearances. So, for example, Psychelet.
Yes.
You have...
Gray.
Well, no, I was looking at your eyes.
Oh, okay, blue.
You have blue eyes.
Yeah.
So you're one of the accidents of your eyes is that the irises are blue.
Yes.
And since you've already mentioned it, one of the accidents of your hair is gray, at least in part.
Right.
And so those are appearances. That's what is apparent when you look at Psychelet. There are other understandings of accidents, but relevant here is the appearances sense. Now, when we consume the Eucharist, after transubstantiation occurs, the substance of bread and wine is gone, but the accidents of bread and wine remain. It still appears to be bread and wine, and it would still look that way even if you put it under an electron microscope. So the appearances of bread and wine remain, but now they are over the substance of Christ's body and blood. And so there's a sense in which you could say, well, are these the appearances of bread and wine? Are those the accidents of Christ now since he's there?
Oh,
Well-
I see what you're saying.
Well,
yeah.
we do consume those accidents.
Right.
But, I mean, we receive into our mouth something that looks like bread and wine. But I don't think that is what Austin has in mind. I think Austin has in mind the accidents of Jesus Christ's own body and blood properly conceived.
Right.
Now, Jesus Christ is currently in heaven, and presumably if his body is manifesting in space and you looked at him, you would see his hair color and his eye color and things like that. But there is no church teaching on are we receiving him in that way. This is a matter of theological speculation. And based on, and I'm sure there are different schools of thought, the one I'm most familiar with is the one that was developed by the schoolmen, the scholastics in the Middle Ages and their successors, and particularly Thomas Aquinas' version of this. What they would say is that Christ is definitively present in the Eucharist, meaning his substance is there, but the accidents of his body are not manifesting here. And so I would say, based on that understanding, I would say we are not receiving the accidents of Christ's body. If we were, we would look down and see, oh, there's a brown eye and black hair or something like that. And so we don't seem to be receiving them in that way. What then, Austin asked about Eucharistic miracles. Well, Eucharistic miracles are instances where the Eucharist ceases to simply appear to be bread and wine and takes on appearances that correspond in some way to what Jesus would look like if he were here, or what part of him would look like if he were here. And I would say, well, Eucharistic miracles are ones where the accidents of what would be received have changed. God can allow Christ's accidents to manifest. He can, just like he can take away the substance of the bread and wine, he can take away the appearances of the bread and wine and replace them with something else, including accidents of Christ. So I would say Eucharistic miracles are a different case that doesn't tell us anything about what we're receiving ordinarily.
What a great question, Austin. Thank you very, very much. We very much appreciate it. It's a great kind of privilege to get to answer these questions day after day. And one of the things I think folks will notice is that many of the questions that Jimmy and the other apologists answer, and I don't think that this was the case in Austin's question, but often you'll notice in the way the question is asked, it's an obstacle question. This is something that is coming between this person and accepting Jesus as the Lord, or accepting the sacraments, or accepting the church, or some other thing vital to salvation. And moving people past those obstacles is probably the primary joy in what we do. You could be a partner in that by joining us in our pledge drive right now. We have a $15,000 match from a very generous donor. Any pledge matched up to $15,000 this hour. 888-318-7884.
And
888-318-7884.
And we've got 21 lines open for you right now, so no waiting.
We'll take a quick break while you call, and we will be right back with more Open Forum with Jimmy Akin.
Hang on, we'll be right back with more Catholic Answers Live.
Do you love sharing the gospel and want to learn to be more effective? Join the St. Paul Street Evangelization online School of Evangelization. You will learn to build bridges of trust and make disciples by befriending strangers, proclaiming the gospel, inviting people to the church, and praying with others. We'll ask for a pledge of financial support, but if you are unable to give, we'll give you a membership at no cost. Find out more and get involved today at streetevangelization.com. That's streetevangelization.com.
Welcome back. Catholic Answers Live. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. Jimmy Akin here in studio with us today for 2 hours of Open Forum. We have a lot of fun doing Open Forum week after week here, and all the other things that we get to do, and you make that possible right now. Almost every line open here in the offices of Catholic Answers. Our colleagues are waiting for your calls as we try to stay fully funded for the next 3 months. 888-291-8000 is the number to call. I'm going to go back to the phones here shortly to get more questions for Jimmy, but let me thank just a few people. And some folks just selected randomly. Sometimes we get a nice comment and we want to read that to you, but Patricia just made a $15 a month pledge. Patricia, thank you very much. Saul, up in my neck of the woods, the town next to me, Vista, California, first-time donor, first-time monthly donor, $25 a month, got tripled. For us, it's $75 a month. I just want to read what Pamela said. Pamela from Washington said the Catholic Answers folks are probably the reason she's Catholic today. About 4 years ago, she tuned in, and heard one of the guys say that Jesus started the Catholic Church, and it got her thinking. She'd always been skeptical of the Jimmy Swaggarts of the world and didn't trust any of the man-made Protestant denominations. Hearing about the Catholic Church in that light opened her eyes, and she quickly realized how much logical and historical sense Catholicism makes. That's the kind of stuff that happens. It only takes one time to hear the truth, and it can penetrate years and years of confusion and, in some cases, deception. And I'm not saying that's what happened in Pamela's case, but in many cases, folks are deceived by the world, and when they hear the truth, it's a great joy to them. We want to share that joy. You can support us in doing that by calling 888-291-8000. You want to go back to the phones? You got more?
Well, I was just going to say, right now we have 22 lines open for you. So 22 Catholic Answers employees. We've got more than that. Some of them are taking calls, but the ones that are just sitting there waiting for your call right now, there's 22 of them. So please give us a call, 888-291-8000. Once again, 888-291-8000. As Cy mentioned, on the final day, it can sometimes be a little more challenging to get through, so this is a great time to call.
And I'll just let you know before I go to the phones, at the end of this hour, which is about 15 minutes away, we should be halfway funded. And we are currently $19,500 away from being halfway funded. So 15 minutes to raise $19,000. There's a match on for every new donor.
Look at how you inspire Cy Kellett people. He's actually doing math on the air.
I was kind of wondering.
He's breaking his own rule.
I was not sure if you were going to correct me, but I did pretty good, I think. I was in the ballpark.
I didn't check your math. I just noticed you were doing it.
Okay, yeah. I think it's a little less than 20,000 anyways. We got to do it in 15 minutes. I think I did.
Yeah.
I did, huh? All right. Let's go to the phones. We'll let somebody else get a question in for Jimmy. Ronaldo in Maryland watching on YouTube. Hi, Ronaldo.
Hello. How are you guys?
Very well. Thank you. Go ahead with your question, Ronaldo.
Oh, and Jimmy, I think I'm the only one who understood your binary joke.
Awesome.
Could you call me later and explain it to me, Ronaldo?
I'll explain it off the air.
Okay.
Well, my question was about the Sacred Heart, what exactly is it? Is it like a worship of a body part, an organ? Is it a symbol? What is the Sacred Heart devotion?
So the Sacred Heart devotion, and there's more to it than I can cover, in a brief radio answer, but it is more. It operates on more than one level. On one level, now all the way through human history, the heart has been very important because of the fact that if it stops beating, we die. And so people have always known their heartbeat is important. They've also noticed that their heartbeat and their heart rate changes depending on what's happening. If you get very excited, your heart rate goes up. And since excited emotional states are ones where your heartbeat does go up, that has led some people in the ancient world in particular to think of the heart as the seat of consciousness. Because that's where, they'll say, well, if I feel excited and my heart rate goes up, that suggests that my heart is associated with my feelings.
Yeah.
And so the heart all the way down through history has been understood as a symbol of the core of our being, of our inner self. Now, today we know that actually consciousness is more associated with the brain than the heart. But even today, we still talk about someone's heart as if it's like the core of who they are, and say "bless your heart" and things like that. Or I thought I was in my heart. I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
And we don't mean that literally, but the heart, based on human nature, has always been a powerful symbol. And so Jesus's heart is, of course, sacred because it's Jesus's, and it thus becomes a symbol of his love for the world. And that's one aspect, one way in which the Sacred Heart devotion operates. But there's another dimension as well, because Christ is an incarnate being, and his divinity is present, and going back to a term we used in a previous call, is definitively present in his body, meaning it fills his body the same way our souls do. It's not like your soul is in one part of your body but not another.
Right.
And in the same way, Christ's divinity and his soul fill his body, and they're not like localized in one part rather than another. And because his divinity is united to the whole of his body, the whole of his body is also sacred. And thus it makes sense for people, like in the Gospels, to do things that are acts of devotion with respect to particular parts of his body, such as when the woman washes his feet with her tears and wipes them with her hair. That is a sign of devotion to him that is manifest towards his feet, but it's the whole person that she is honoring. And in the same way, by honoring Christ's heart, even as a physical organ, you are honoring the whole Christ in that act. And so the Sacred Heart devotion operates on more than one level.
And thank you, Ronaldo. I hope that was helpful to you. Our number here to help with the pledge drive, 888-291-8000. We're coming to the last moments of this hour. We're going to get some more callers on here shortly. And then if you're on the line, hang on the line. We'll have Jimmy back for a second hour of open forum. We try to keep doing our regular day job while we come to you and ask you for your support. The way it works, Catholic Answers is not funded by the government. It's not funded by the church. It's funded by you, the listener. And we rely on you for that. It's different than the funding for your local Catholic radio station, which we pray that you will also support, or for your support of any network, or especially EWTN or something like that, which we also pray that you will support. Supporting us is different. We just make content. That's what we do. If you appreciate the content, if you believe this is the content that's needed out there, we'd ask you to support it. 888-291-8000 is the number to go to make your support. 888-291-8000.
And, one of the things we talk about sometimes during fundraising drives are the biblical principles behind giving, because the Bible actually has a theology of giving. It talks about giving to support God's work, giving to support the preaching of the gospel. And one of the things that it indicates is, well, A, that's something God wants you to do, and B, God will reward you for doing it. One of the things that St. Paul talks about, he mentions this, for example, in Romans chapter 2, is that God will give certain things to people who persevere in good works, and supporting the preaching of the gospel is a good work. And what he says there is that God will give such people So this is kind of like monthly pledgers. They persevere in doing good. Every month they do some good. He will give glory, honor, and immortality. And so that's an eternal reward. He says it even more directly in Galatians chapter 6, where he talks about how those who have received God's word should share all good things with the one who teaches. That means support the teacher so the teacher can keep on teaching. And so if you've heard God's word, if you've benefited from all the discussion of God's word that we have going on here on Catholic Answers Live, well, then enact Paul's principle. Help keep the teaching going. Help keep sending out the signal. Help the message keep on reaching more and more people. And there, St. Paul puts it in a kind of an interesting way. He says, if you sow to your flesh, this is what he says immediately after this in Galatians 6. So he's expanding on what he means when he says support the teacher, the one who teaches God's word. If you sow to your flesh, which in context just means spending your money as you would on your own pleasures, you will from the flesh reap corruption. But if you sow to the Spirit, meaning support the work of the Spirit by helping the gospel spread, by supporting teachers of God's word, then you will from the Spirit reap a harvest of eternal life. So God is in the business of giving out eternal rewards to people who help promulgate the message of his word and his teaching. So please give us a call. We've got 18 lines open for you right now. The number is 888-291-8000. Once again, it's 888-291-8000. You can also go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. That works whether you're in North America or not. It works anywhere in the world. It works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So even if you're listening delayed on podcast, you can still go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com and support the show and reap those eternal rewards. And our newest way, since we don't have machine telepathy ready yet, our newest way to help support the show, you can text the word Catholic to 24365. Just think 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Text the word Catholic to 24365, and you can make your donation that way as well.
As we come to about 8 minutes before the halfway point, we're about $18,000 away from being at the halfway point as far as the amount we need to raise. So we're close, and we can do that. Maybe if you are one of those folks who can make that larger pledge, now would be a good time to consider that, because if you can make a pledge of $1,000 or maybe $2,000, or we've even had folks do considerably more than that. Maybe you could do $5,000. You can get us close to being on schedule. And on schedule would mean halfway to our goal as we reach the halfway point, and that's $18,000 away at the moment. I'm going to try to get one more call in before we go, because that's what we do here. Richard in Fort Worth, Texas, watching on YouTube. You are up next. Richard, try to be quick with your question, please.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My question is, what's the difference of the free will among three groups I want to list here? The first group would be Lucifer, Adam, and Eve, all before their fall. The second group or person would be the Virgin Mary. And then the third group would be everyone in heaven. So how is free will different among those three groups of individuals?
So in the first group, Lucifer, Adam, and Eve, prior to the fall, they had and St. Augustine gave Latin terms to these possibilities, to these different kinds of free will. I'll spare you the Latin, but basically, it was possible for these individuals before the fall to either sin or to not sin, and then they chose to sin. For the Virgin Mary, the matter is the nature of her freedom has not been specifically taught by the Church. It is taught by the Church that she never in fact sinned, but it's an open question of whether she had the ability to sin. According to some theologians, she would have had the ability to sin. According to others, she was given a special gift called impeccability, which means you could not sin. So that's a difference between Lucifer, Adam, and Eve. They were not impeccable. They did in fact fall into sin. The Virgin Mary depending on your theological persuasions, may or may not have been impeccable, and then everyone in heaven is definitely impeccable. That doesn't mean you can't choose between different goods, but it does mean you can't choose to sin. And since we're going into a break, this is an ideal time to call. We've got lines open for you. The number is 888-291-8000. We need your help. We're at the halfway mark, and we're not quite halfway to our goal, so please give us a call, 888-291-8000. You won't miss anything if you call now.
You can go safe and secure online to CatholicAnswersRadio.com or dial that number that Jimmy just said, 888-291-8000. We'll let you know how we did on the match and reaching our halfway goal. We'll be right back with more Open Forum with Jimmy Akin on Catholic Answers Live right after this. That's just eerie. That is weird. Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I'm Cy Kellett, your host.
If it's weird, I get to give the good news.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so the good news is last hour we met our $15,000 matching challenge.
Yay, thank you so much.
That $15,000 got matched and becomes $30,000 for us. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And the other piece of good news, which Cy described as weird, but weird can be good.
Oh, yeah.
Or good can be weird. Just at the top of the hour, we hit the 50% mark for our overall drive goal.
It was almost like exactly, it was 4, it hit 4 the clock, and
Pacific
we were at
time.
the halfway point.
And so that's great because we are 50% of the way through this current drive, and we're at 50% of the drive goal. And so y'all are doing great, but we need you to keep it up because otherwise we're going to fall behind. And tomorrow's going to be Tim Staples, and I don't want to leave him in the hole with a whole bunch of stuff to make up. So if you're a fan of Jimmy Akin and the apologetics I do, please help us out this hour.
And I'll tell you what, we can give you some motivators to give this hour
motivate
as well.
them, Si.
I got motivators. If you're a fan of Jimmy Akin or if you're anybody else, there's going to be matches for you. Are there people? Oh, by the way, the reason Jimmy's in charge of weird questions with Jimmy Akin is his. That's 100% his. So if I say the word weird, Jimmy just perks up. Also, Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World is his baby. So weirdness and mystery, that's where Jimmy lives. Here's the deal.
Don't give out my address.
Oh, like right at the corner, right at the intersection of weirdness and mystery. But I won't tell you what floor he lives on.
Okay.
Here's the deal. $15,000 match again this hour.
Yeah.
$15,000 dollar for dollar match. So if you look here's the deal. You pick up the phone, you pledge $15,000. We'll just use it up in 1 minute, but that's unlikely. So
if someone did that, I would be so inclined to say, let's take the next half hour and not do fundraising and just answer questions.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Actually. I was just looking
we'd
to
still,
see if the boss
we'd still
was here.
want to raise more towards the overall drive goal.
Yeah.
But if someone like just in one sweep gave us the match for this hour, then I would say, well, okay, that would justify half an hour of let's just do questions.
Okay, all right. There it is. It's on the table. Never said that before, but here's the other thing. If you don't currently have a monthly pledge with us, we do have a donor who grasped that, look, the best thing for Catholic Answers is to have a large number of monthly donors rather than relying on big donors. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but the main reason is it's predictable. You can grow in an orderly way. And what we do is media. So that means, like, if Jimmy Akin is going to produce another class for the Catholic Answers School of Apologetics, that requires planning. That requires the commitment of resources. That requires, even renting space to do that. So planning is kind of important in a media ministry. So we're trying to get the monthly donors up. So basically, let me just sum it up for you. If you're a new monthly donor, if you don't currently have a monthly pledge going, and you call up and you make a monthly pledge, $10, $50, $100, $1,000 a month, doesn't matter what it is, up to $115,000. It's tripled right now. So this is a perfect chance to call 888-291-8000. 888-291-8000. If you're one of those folks who's like, I've always thought about supporting Catholic Answers, never picked up the phone and call, perfect time to pick up the phone and call. While both of these matches are on, your dollar is tripled. 888-291-8000. 8,000.
And in fact, it's a perfect time to call in more than 1 cent because only one person is on the line right now. We've got 24 people standing by waiting to take your call. So lots of lines open. Please give us a call. At the end of the last hour, we mentioned some of the theology of giving. We'll probably mention a little bit more in this hour. But the basic idea is God gives eternal rewards when you support the preaching of his word. And so if you want eternal rewards, and who doesn't, this is a way to get them. God, as St. Paul says in 2 Corinthians, God loves a cheerful giver, and he shows his love by granting eternal rewards to those who support the teaching of his word. So please give us a call, 888-291-8000. We have that brand new matching challenge this hour, and we are a grand total of 1% towards meeting it. So in the next 55 minutes, we need to make up the other 99% in order to get to that $15,000 match for this hour. So please give us a call, 888-291-8000, or you can go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com cancelicandrews.com.
3 hours left for us to raise $112,000 with your help. We will get there. It's going to take every size of donation, and believe me, not one of them is too small. I can tell you that, and especially when they get tripled. 888-291-8000. All right, let's go to the phones. Thanks for letting us raise funds for a minute there, and we'll take some questions, and then we'll go back to raising funds. We'll go to Oklahoma. Jerry in Oklahoma is up next. Jerry, thanks for your call. Go ahead with your question for Jimmy.
Okay, thank you. Hi, guys.
Hi, Jerry.
My question's regarding differences in translations in the Old Testament. I recently have been looking at the translations for the extraordinary form scripture readings in both comparing the Douay Rheims to the New American Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And for the New Testament, things line up, verse per verse. The language differs, but you can see verse X is verse X. When I went to Sirach chapter 24 for the epistle for the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary, it's like completely different. The Douay Rheims has 47 verses. The New American Bible has 33. I can see, certain passages appear in both, but they're in different places in different orders.
Yeah, I can explain what's going on here. The answer is that there are textual differences in the manuscripts that are being used. Now, at the time that the Douay Rheims was translated, back in the 1600s, the science of what's called textual criticism was not yet developed. And what textual criticism is where you try to determine what the original reading of a text was based on the manuscripts you have in front of you. And so you have a whole bunch of manuscripts, and because they were all done by hand prior to the invention of the printing press in the 1450s, they have variations. Scribes would accidentally omit parts or accidentally duplicate parts or accidentally include things. And so no handwritten manuscript was perfect. And so what you would do is you would get a bunch of manuscripts in front of you, and you would note the differences between them, and then you would put on your critical thinking hat and try to discern, well, based on this, I'm going to be a detective, how can I figure out what the original version of this would have said? And that's why it's called textual criticism, because you're using critical thinking to try to figure out what the original text was. And this is an enterprise that actually started very early. For example, really even before the New Testament, there were versions of this happening in the Jewish community. But in the Christian community, Origen, the early Christian author, did like textual criticism on the Old Testament. He's famous for having produced a work called the Hexapla, where he had 6 different versions of the Old Testament in parallel columns, so you could see the differences. And it's continued to grow as time has rolled along. And today, because of archaeology, we have a whole bunch of manuscripts that we didn't have before, including in the Hebrew version of Sirach, which we did not have before. We only had the Greek version. And so because of all these new manuscript discoveries, textual scholars have been able to get a much better idea of what the original version of different texts would have said. And as a result, newer Bible translations will be based on these newer findings. And that's why you'll find occasionally a verse or a set of verses that are in an older Bible, but they're not in a newer Bible, or vice versa. And so that's the basic explanation. Whenever you're looking in one translation and you're going, hey, why does this have a verse that this other translation doesn't have? It's invariably because of differences in the text that the translators are using.
Hey, thanks very much for that question. Thanks for everybody who has called. It's open forum. Jimmy Akin is our guest. It's also second day of our pledge drive. We come to you once every quarter to ask you to support the work here at Catholic Answers. A lot of work's getting done. If you've been watching our various YouTube or Facebook pages, if you've been seeing what's getting done in the publishing side or what's getting done in our broadcasting side, a lot of work getting done, and it's all paid for by you. We're very, very grateful for that, but we depend on you, and we need to come to you and ask you for your help now. 888-291-8000 is the number. I want to just say, if I could, Jimmy, for a quick minute, thanks to everybody up in Ontario, Canada. I don't know what's happening up there, but I just know in the last half hour, 4 folks from Ontario, Canada made pledges. Michael in Thornhill, thanks. Let's see, in North York, Christopher in North York, thanks very much for your pledge. Ron in, I think the town is called Strathroy, but I might be pronouncing it wrong, but thanks. And then we had a gentleman who I am particularly grateful for, Michael. And I'm particularly grateful to him because he lives in the town of Mississauga, and it is fun to say Mississauga. I mean, come on. So thanks, Ontario.
Almost as much as Gothenburg. It sounds like Gotham City.
I know. We got good towns today.
Yeah. We also have other people we want to thank. In order to be able to achieve our goals, we do need people who can make larger donations, and sometimes that can be broken down into monthly amounts. We mentioned that among the levels we have, and we have some thank you gifts we want to send you for different levels, which Sai is going to tell us about. But one of the levels we have is if you can do $84 a month, or more, you could do $100 a month. But if you can do $84 a month, then that will add up to $1,000 a year, and you'll be a member of the Catholic Answers President's Club, which has a bunch of benefits, including you get a free copy of everything we publish in the next year. All the books, the DVDs, the booklets, the CDs, whatever we publish, magazines, you have a right to it as a member of the President's Club. So you want all the things. Who wouldn't want all the things,
It's a lot of things.
Give us a call, 888-291-8000. Make a monthly pledge of $84 a month or a one-time donation of $1,000, and you'll be a member of the President's Club. And we've had some people do that just in the last hour. So we want to thank Thomas from Pennsylvania, who's joined the President's Club, Elizabeth from Utah, who's joined the President's Club, and several other folks as well today have been able to do that, like Eileen from New York. So thank you so much for your generosity. It's wonderful that God has blessed you to the point financially where you're able to do that, and we really appreciate the support. If you, like Thomas and Eileen and Elizabeth, are able to help us at that level, we really would appreciate it if you're able to do it. Give us a call. The number is 888-291-8000, and you can also go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com.
888-291-8000. I said Michael in Mississauga. It was Johnny in Mississauga. So that's all right. I got to say Mississauga 2 more times. The number 888-291-8000, a triple match on for those of you right now who could be who could have start a new monthly pledge. If you don't have a current monthly pledge, the match will triple that right now. So make a monthly pledge of $10 a month. Here's what you get. You become a member of the Society 315. You get the Society of 315 t-shirt and car magnet, and then you get to participate in tons of exclusives that we have here at Catholic Answers. At Jimmy?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
This is when I hold my finger up, it means when you're done talking, I have something I want to say.
Gotcha. I thought
it doesn't mean stop right now.
All right. Okay. I just needed help with the signals. To the $20 a month level, again, it's tripled right now. And you, in addition to being a member of Society 315, you get Pope Peter, a new book from Joe Heschmeyer, The Decline and Fall of Sacred Scripture from Dr. Scott Hahn and Dr. Benjamin Weicker. And maybe you could do $45 a month. Again, tripled. I just want to stress that. Tripled. $45 a month tripled. You get all that I just mentioned, but we'll also give you the DVD set and the workbook of Jimmy Akin's new course at the Catholic Answers School of Apologetics, Bible Difficulties, Part 1. Jimmy already mentioned at $84 a month, all of that is yours, but you're also a member of the President's Club, which brings all kinds of benefits, including the benefits he mentioned.
And think about that value. If you're able to do 45, yes, you get my course, which we publish, but if you can not even double that, because 45 is you double it and it's 90, but you don't have to go to 90. If you can just go to 84, you go from, you get that to everything
Yeah.
we publish. So there's a huge value there. The thing I wanted to say, now we're now at the 15-minute mark into this hour, so the hour is a quarter gone, and we're only 14% of the way. So we ideally would want to be 25% of the way towards meeting our hourly goal for that $15,000 match. And we're not there. We're 9% short. So we're a little bit in the hole there, but it's still doable as long as we hear from you. Give us a call, 888-291-8000. Once again, it's 888-291-8000. And I see we have 22 Catholic Answers employees who are not currently on calls and are sitting by their phones waiting to take yours. So it'll be fast, easy. You won't have a wait time. 888-291-8000.
All right, I'm going to go back to the phones and let Jimmy answer some more questions while some of you join President's Club maybe at $84 a month or come in at one of those other levels. But remember, right now we got a long way to go to the match, and that means your dollars are tripled right now if you start a new monthly pledge. 888-291-8000. We head down now to Jacksonville, Florida. Danny in Jacksonville watching on YouTube. You are up next, Danny. Go ahead with your question for Jimmy.
So my question is about what exactly is the Catholic Church stance now on secular democratic republics like the United States and other countries, if there's a preferable over other systems like monarchy or non-democratic systems or theocracies, and as well as what the role of the church should be and the relation should be with those secular democracies.
So going back throughout history, there have been several different forms of government proposed. Monarchy is one of them. Democracy is another. There are also oligarchies, and, you know, there are variations on these. But of the basic forms of government, the church doesn't have a problem with any of them. And, you know, you read St. Thomas Aquinas, for example, in his writings on government. He doesn't have a problem with any one in particular. They can all work. Now, there are benefits and disadvantages to each one of them. And Aquinas, you know, has views on that. But today, the church does not have a problem with any of them, provided they're well implemented. One of the things, and this was also true of Aquinas' views, and the church has endorsed it, is that any government to be legitimate must rest on the consent of the governed. And so if you've got a group of people, whether they have democratic representatives, whether they are doing democracy by direct voting, whether they have monarchs, whether they have oligarchs, whatever the governing structure is, it must have the consent of the people. Otherwise, it's a tyranny. So if you think about it in terms of popular consent, there's a sense in which democracy underlies all of these systems of government, if they're going to be legitimate, at least in the sense of the people must agree to it. So there's that element to all of them. But because direct democracy is really hard to implement unless you're the Borg and have everybody linked up in a hive mind.
Is that democracy, really?
Well, it's debatable.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they have a queen, so you could say they're also a monarchy.
That's
but
right, yeah.
in principle, you could link everybody together, and we're going to make all the decisions collectively. But that is not generally feasible, and so almost in every system there are representatives. Whether the representative is elected, you know, by the people on a regular basis, or whether they're elected to an ongoing for life office, or whether they're part of a dynasty that was chosen at some point and is now currently reigning generationally. So there are these two elements in all of them. Now, you asked specifically about secular democratic republics. Secular republics can be understood in more than one sense. The church does not have a problem with it if the state is independent of the church. That's actually always been the case, except in very special circumstances like in the papal states. The church has recognized the legitimacy of what's called the temporal sword as opposed to the spiritual sword, and so it recognizes that there's a legitimate role for different for government versus the church. Having said that, well, okay, so what about the relationship of the church and the state? Because the church recognizes under ordinary circumstances they need to be different. But should the state support the church? Well, certainly in the sense of, and this is current teaching as articulated by Vatican II, certainly the state should support the church in the sense of not opposing it in its mission to evangelize and so forth, but the church also wants to see the rights of other religious groups protected, their civil rights, so that nobody is being coerced into a religious position. They don't want to see coercion happening, whether it's coercing Catholics to do something against their conscience or coercing non-Catholics to do something against their conscience. If a state is doing things like that, whether it favors the church or whether it hurts the church itself would not be in favor of coercion.
And thank you very, very much for that question. I hope that that was helpful to you. We're in the midst of our pledge drive here at Catholic Answers Live. Lots of lines open, so I want to ask you again for your support, and then I'll go right back to the phones. I want to thank some folks. Laura from Woodstock, Georgia said, I get entertained and educated all on my drive home. That's what we're going for, Laura. Thank you very, very much. Pamela from Pensacola, Florida. Thomas just cut and pasted some comments in here for me, and I want to share them with you. I love Catholic Answers. That's what Pamela said. Thank you, Pamela. I love Pensacola, Florida. So there. Paul from Garland, Texas said he's just going to the conference to see Jimmy, but he's also convinced his fiance to come as well. Paul,
awesome.
Come say hello when you're at the conference in about a month and a half, I guess. We're out from the conference right now. And Shelly is going to donate $1,200 online after she stops driving. Good, Shelly. All right, excellent choice,
See,
Shelley.
that would be another benefit of machine telepathy. She could both drive and donate. Yeah.
Yes, but for some people, being able to spend money with just your mind would not be a benefit.
Yeah, true.
They need a little space. Shelley, thanks for doing that. I hope you drive safely wherever you're headed.
Now, obviously, as we mentioned, people can call 888-291-8000, and we're coming up on a break in just a few minutes, and that is an ideal time to call. But, we have a 4-year-old caller on the line with a quick question on line 1. So
Okay,
why don't we
Jimmy,
try
thanks.
to take that before the break?
Ellie in Ave Maria, Florida, watching on YouTube. You are next. Ellie, are you there with us?
Hello. Hi.
Hi, Ellie. Thank you for calling.
What's your question, Ellie?
Go ahead with your question.
Why will God come back?
Why will God?
Why will God?
Okay. Jesus, who is God, will come back because he loves us. He promised that he would come back, and he loves us, and he will do that. It's like when your parents sometimes have to go to work or to leave home and leave you with the babysitter, but they promise they'll come back because they love you. And Jesus loves us, so he promised to come back. And just like sometimes when your parents go away and they come back and they bring you a present, Jesus is going to bring us awesome presents. He's going to make us immortal and happy forever. So Jesus went away, but he promised he'd come back, and he loves us, so he will, and he's bringing awesome presents with him.
Does that make you happy, Ellie?
Yeah.
Well,
Good.
That's good.
Okay.
Thank you for calling. You did a really good job. And tell your dad he did a good job, too.
Okay. Now, having done that, we are going to be going into this break, so we do need to hear from folks. The number to call, 888-291-8000. I can see we have 24 lines open right now. So there's 24 people at their desks just waiting to take your call. The number is 888-291-8000. You also can go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. We are just about halfway through this hour, and we are 38% of the way towards meeting our hourly goal of the $15,000 matching challenge. So we are 12% short of where we need to be right now. So please, in the next few minutes, you won't be missing anything because we're going to be in the break. It's the ideal time to call. Help us get to that 50% mark on this hour's goal or more. We are likely to need some folks who are able to make larger gifts, and there have been a few of those coming in. Not as many today as I think as yesterday, but we have been getting some. We want to thank everybody, no matter what the size of the gift is that you're able to make. They all help, but we do need to hear from you. 888-291-8000. Once again, 888-291-8000, or go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com.
Once again, let me just stress this, because the phones have really slowed down. Occasionally this will happen. It's Wednesday. It's a sleepy Wednesday in August, and I know that there's a lot of inertia to overcome. But now is a perfect time to pick up the phone and call, because we still have the triple match on for those who will start a new monthly pledge. If you start a new monthly pledge of $10 a month, you become a member of our giving society, the Society 315, but also your gift is tripled right now, as long as we have these matches up. And so, perfect time to call, and lots of lines open. Things have really slowed down. 888-291-8000, or as Jimmy said, safe and secure online at CatholicAnswersRadio.com. It all goes to the same match. Please pick up those phones. Lots of Catholic Answers folks here waiting to take your calls. 888-291-8000, triple match right now.
Catholic Answers Live would like to take this opportunity to thank our partners in airing our daily program. Please support the stations and networks that carry us each day, ensuring that we have a platform for broadcasting the show. And please bear in mind that while we don't have to pay for airtime on our affiliate stations, neither do they contribute to the operating costs we incur. It's a great relationship, but it requires that we turn to you, our devoted listeners, for your prayers and financial support to cover our ever-growing expenses. Please call 888-291-8000 right now and help to keep Catholic Answers Live strong. That's 888-291-8000. Or you can donate securely online at CatholicAnswersRadio.com. What began as a humble one-hour daily show that was carried by 4 stations has, with the generosity of many fantastic people like you, blossomed into a 2-hour broadcast heard on hundreds of AM and FM stations, the internet, Sirius XM radio, Facebook, YouTube, and via podcast. We don't make that possible. You do. We simply cannot continue this media mission without your most generous gift today. Call 888-291-8000 or log on to CatholicAnswersRadio.com and donate now. People tell us all the time how much they depend on Catholic Answers Live to help them better learn, live, and share their faith. What they're really saying is they depend on you for that. Will you come through for them right now? It only takes a couple of minutes to make a huge difference at 888-291-8000 or CatholicAnswersRadio.com. Again, 888-291-8000 or CatholicAnswersRadio.com. No matter how much you give, be assured of our gratitude and know that God will richly bless you. Phone 888-291-8000 or go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. It's important that you take this important step right now, today, to make sure that Catholic Answers Live is here tomorrow and for years to come. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. Hey, one thing I neglected to do is give out the phone number where you can call and ask Jimmy questions. It's open forum, and if you're not a Catholic person and you've always wanted to ask a Catholic a question, you can call. If you're a Catholic person and you got a question, you can call. Call with any question you want. But I'm only going to give out the number a couple times, so maybe jot her down there when I give it out here in a second. Any question at all on the Catholic faith, morals, sacraments, you want to ask a science question, Jimmy's here to take your questions. That number is 888-318-7884. Once again, 888-318-7884. 884. And the reason that I distinguish that number from the other number is because we're in the midst of our pledge drive now. As a matter of fact, just about to be done with our second day of our pledge drive. Things have slowed down
considerably. So we need people's help.
We are in a position where we need your help right now. And that number is 888-291-8000. 888-291-8000. Yesterday we had some folks who made very large donations, actually. I thought one of them was a mistake. Someone named Nancy, if I remember, from Texas, gave $500 a month, and I thought, oh, they accidentally put that in as a recurring donation, but it wasn't. She
That's awesome.
intended to give $500 a month. We might need some help like that. As a matter of fact, we do need some help for folks who are able to do those big donations. I know it's a very limited group who can, but if you can, we could really use your help with some larger donations right now. 888-291-8000. But we don't want to neglect the fact that we also have matches right now. I mean, $15,000 dollar for dollar match, not used up. So a long way to go actually to using that up. So if you any pledge in any amount, if you've got $5 that you can pledge, it becomes $10 to us immediately. So we're very grateful for that $5. If you can do 10, it becomes 20. Maybe you can do something like 50 or 100. 50 becomes 100. 100 becomes 200. 888-291-8000.
And we like to be responsive to donors, regardless of what level they're at. We have a message from a donor named Emma that she'll increase her monthly donation to $15 a month if we play the groovy music. So we're going to give Brandon a moment here to get up the groovy music. I believe we have another break coming up.
So maybe use the next.
No, we don't.
Oh no, we don't have a break this out. That's
well,
all right.
Darren's coming to the rescue. Darren's going to help us get the groovy music
It's in
up.
a secret file, Emma. You don't realize the trouble that you have caused.
We don't
Emma.
want anyone to get in and dilute the grooviness.
There it is. Groovy music, Emma. That's $15 a month. But that's going to be doubled to $30 a month, Emma. Wait, no. It's going to be tripled to $45 a month. Thanks, Emma. Groovy music.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That illustrates, we like to have a good time here on the show. It's fun for us when we're able to do things like that. It's fun for you. So please help us keep the fun going. Give us a call, 888-291-8000. We are in the last half hour of today's show. At the end of this hour, we are going to be 2/3 of the way through the drive, but unless we get your help, we don't think we're going to be at the 2/3 of the way towards the goal of our drive. We are making progress, but we really do need to help you, including for this hour's $15,000 match. We're 47% of the way there, but we're like 53% of the way through the hour. So we're a little bit behind. Please do give us a call or go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com.
To get on track, we need to do $30,000 in the next 30 minutes, basically, is where we are. So slightly less than 30 minutes, but basically $30,000 in 30 minutes. So if you can make that larger pledge, if you can make that smaller pledge and get the match, 888-291-8000. We've got to continue to do our job, however, and as much as Jimmy said, Jimmy's right, we try to have fun, we try to make it entertaining. It's serious business, though. This business of sharing the good news in a world that is lost and confused. And so we know that. We don't play around as far as the truths of the Catholic faith. We don't play around as far as, playing fast and loose with anything. We try to share the truth about Jesus, his love, and his church, whether it's little Ellie, 4 years old,
that was an awesome call,
or whether it's 100-year-old who calls, and then we just say the answer really loud. 888-291-8000. I shouldn't have said that. Sorry. 888-291-8000. The number. Come on, we really need your help. I'm going back to the phones. We played the groovy music. Devontae in Texas. You are up next, Devontae. We're happy to have you. Go ahead with your question for Jimmy.
Good afternoon. How are you guys doing?
Hey, Devontae, our old friend Devontae. Nice to hear from you again.
Thank you. I had a question about the Eucharist.
Uh-huh.
I had came across John Paul VI document, Mysterium Fidei,
from the 41st century, John Paul VI? Yeah.
I'm sorry, wait, did I get the name wrong?
He's just messing with you, Devontae. John Paul II was the last one. Yeah.
But he was referring to Paul VI.
Oh, Paul VI. Oh, I see.
Oh,
yeah.
Paul VI. Okay,
right.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
I have not read it yet, but it was recommended to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just curious if there were any other magisterial documents that I could read about the Eucharist, specifically that would be related to transformation, because that's really the thing that I've been looking at, because I've heard certain claims from my Protestant brethren that I just wanted to see what Catholics say.
Yeah, so there's a variety of documents you could go to. In terms of magisterial ones, transubstantiation was originally defined at, is it fourth or fifth Lateran? It was the one that occurred in 1215. And then that teaching was repeated and amplified at the Council of Trent, and which has a couple of decrees related to the Eucharist. Now, one thing you'll note when you read these, earlier we had a question on the show about the accidents, and you will not find that term in magisterial documents, at least not typically, because it is tied specifically to particular philosophical schools, and the church does not want to mandate a particular philosophical school, and so it uses a different word than accident. It uses the word species, which means, in this context, it means appearances. And so so you may want to be aware of that as you read these documents. The document Mysterium Fidei by Paul VI came out during the Second Vatican Council, and it does deal with this, the issue of transubstantiation for our age. In the 1960s, there were a group of theologians who were proposing alternatives to transubstantiation. They went by names like transsignification and transfinalization, and they would claim that instead of using the transubstantiation, which indicates a change of substance in the Eucharist, that, well, they could say, well, we can better explain this by saying it has a new significance, so it's transsignified, or it has a new end and purpose, so it's transfinalized. And these were rejected as inadequate. Now, sometimes you'll hear people say those positions are false.
Yeah.
That is not what Paul VI said. Paul VI in Mysterium Fidei said that they are not adequate. It's true. The Eucharist has a new significance, and it has a new end after it's been consecrated, but to that you need to add the change of substance if you're going to have an adequate understanding of the Eucharist. So it's not that transsignification and transfinalization don't occur, it's that transubstantiation also occurs. Subsequent to that, John Paul II released a major document on the Eucharist. It was actually the last encyclical he released, so it was around 2004, 2005, I think. I want to say it's Ecclesia de Eucharistica. Also, even though they're not magisterial documents, the International Theological Commission, and you can find their documents on the Vatican website. They're run by the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. They've also done a little bit of work on this, and so they're not magisterial in themselves, but they're good summaries of points that Catholic theologians would agree on that are consistent with the magisterium.
Devontae, we always like when you call. Thanks very much. I hope you're working your way through that virtual library of books we have sent you. We always like it when you call, though, and thanks for that. Our number to support us during this pledge drive, 888-291-8000, and almost every single line open right now, 888-291-8000. I don't want you to think we're not making progress. We are making progress. Folks have been calling, and we're very grateful for that. It's just that the progress is quite slow this hour, and we still have not used up our $15,000 match. So a $15,000 dollar-for-dollar match, every pledge right now is getting matched, no matter whether it's a one-time, whether it's a recurring pledge, whether it's $1 or whether it's $1,000. It's all getting matched dollar for dollar. Perfect time to pick up the phone and call 888-291-8000, 888-291-8000. For those of you who are willing to start a new monthly pledge, if you're willing to start a new monthly pledge in any amount, there's an extra bonus, and your money will be tripled. So, and this is because we have this donor who knows what we've said many, many times on the air, that the lifeblood of this apostolate is monthly donors, because the monthly donors make it possible for us to have a monthly baseline that we know we're working with, so we can take on new projects. so we can, invest in equipment when we need to invest in equipment, and and invest in new employees, as we did with hiring Joe Heschmeyer this year, who I think everyone who has heard Joe speak or read his writing on the Catholic Answers website realizes we got a real winner in Joe Heschmeyer. We really hit a home run. And so your help is needed right now. And even as I'm speaking, I'm seeing the lines are not lighting up. Any amount is going to be either doubled or tripled right now. 888-291-8000.
And once again, we have these thank you gifts we'd like to send you. If you're able to donate just $10 a month or more, you'll be a member of Society 315. You'll get a T-shirt, you'll get a car magnet, you'll get a bunch of exclusive releases that we'll send you links to, so new talks and things every month that are coming out. Also, if you can donate $20 a month or a one-time gift of $200, we'll give you Joe Heschmeyer's book, Pope Peter, and Scott Hahn and Ben Weiker's book, The Decline and Fall of Sacred Scripture, How the Bible Became a Secular Book. If you're able to donate $45 or more a month or a one-time gift of $500, you'll also get my new course, Bible Difficulties 1, from the Catholic Answers School of Apologetics. You'll get it on DVD along with a hard copy, print copy workbook. And in it, I look at the different types of Bible difficulties that exist. That's something a lot of people don't think about is, there are more than one type, aren't there?
Yeah.
So I lay out the spectrum of the different types you can encounter. I give examples of each kind, and then I show how to resolve them, and I develop these principles that you can use for other passages as well, for other Bible difficulties. If you're able to donate $84 or more a month, then you'll be a member of the President's Club, which gives you not just my new course, but everything we publish for the next year, which is a huge amount. So we're publishing a lot of stuff. We're publishing more all the time. So if you're able to do $84 a month, that is great. Finally, the top level we have, if you're able to do $417 a month, that's the equivalent of a $5,000 gift, which puts you in the Founders Circle. And that, among other things, in addition to all the other things, would result in you being invited to come to our Founders Circle retreat, which is a very special event we put on once a year for key donors to be able to be briefed on what the ministry is doing, what its plans are, and to give their input on what the ministry should be doing in the future. So we've got lots of lines open for you. I can currently see we've got 18 lines open, and the number to call is 888-291-8000. Once again, it's 888-291-8000. 8,000.
And we'll leave it in the hands of St. Joseph. It's the year of St. Joseph. Help us as we come into the last moments of today's pledge drive. We have a long way to go today, but we trust in your patronage, St. Joseph, and we trust in you, our listeners. Thank you to everyone who has called. We need lots more calls to meet our goal this hour, $15,000 dollar-for-dollar match this hour, 888-318-7884. Going down to Texas now. Joe, listening on Guadalupe Radio in Texas. You are up. Joe, go ahead with your question for Jimmy.
Thank you very much. I've been troubled. I'll give you just a little background. My father died in 1992, and at that time, in his deathbed, we're 9 siblings, and he said, "I'm going to hold you responsible to help your brothers and sisters, okay?" Because he had a lot of trust in me. Well, since then, one of the siblings decided to leave the Catholic Church. I won't mention the denomination, but been trying to recruit everybody else into that church and been trashing really the Blessed Mother and everything. And so I've dreamed about my father every week since he died in 92. That's very rare.
Wow.
But my sister, I dream about him.
So you want
Joe, I want to make sure I can help you. What can I do to help you?
Yes. What I'm asking, my father in the dream says, "Get her out of there." I don't know what to do. I've been praying for that. I don't know how to approach that.
So the what I would say is a couple things. The first one is you obviously want to do what you can to help your sister, but you have to recognize that your sister has free will. And your sister and you can't take ultimate responsibility for your sister. So any exhortation you perceive in a dream, like get her out of there, that has to be understood in the sense of do what's reasonably possible. but you can't achieve the impossible, and you can't accept responsibility for another person's soul. That is not something that God wants you to do. And so you shouldn't interpret an exhortation like that to mean you have personal responsibility for another person's soul, because you don't. All you have responsibility for is doing what you can to help them out. Now, in terms of helping her out, you mentioned praying, and that's good. You also want to mention, dialogue of some kind. Now, dialogue is sometimes something that can be done face-to-face, but also it can be challenging to do that face-to-face, especially with people who are close to us and we have strong feelings about because they're family. They may not listen. Just like Jesus himself said, a prophet has no honor in his own family. So other ways of approaching dialogue are indirectly, by saying things like, well, here's a book that I think could be helpful to you, and or here's a video. Maybe would you watch it, and then maybe we could talk about it, or you could tell me what you think. But it has information in it that I think you should consider. And then in terms of what to give the person, it's going to depend. Now, you mentioned she's been speaking disrespectfully of Mary, so we've got at Catholic.com, we've got lots of resources on Mary that you could use. Also, you mentioned she joined another group, but you weren't going to name them. Well, okay, that group is going to have views. And so I'd suggest go to Catholic.com, look up that group, and find out information about it. And then you can use that information with her either directly by talking to her directly or indirectly by seeing if she'll look at it and considering it. You can also, you said she's been trying to bring other family members into this other organization. And you can, share Catholic materials with them as well to try to help them understand the problems with this other organization and the views that it's teaching. So, helping to inoculate and defend the faith for your other siblings is another great thing you could do. But those are the general lines that I would be pursuing in this situation.
Joe, thank you very much. As you do those things, and maybe you read the materials at Catholic.com, if you have more questions, generally speaking, Tuesdays and Thursdays we do open forum. Jimmy's almost always here with us on a Thursday, so if you want to call back with follow-up questions, we'd love to be helpful to you as you try to be helpful to your sister. Again, I got to go to our listeners, ask for your support. Calls have begun to come in a bit more.
And by the way, I just want to say that the last call we took shows how important the work is that we're doing.
Yeah.
Because that's a delicate family situation. And these happen in just about everybody's family at one time or another. And Catholic Answers is here to help out in those situations.
The way you can support, the way you can become a part of the team, 888-291-8000, 888-291-8000. What it says on my sheet is we still have not used up the $15,000 match. As a matter of fact, about $4,000 to go to meet that match this hour. Only about 12 minutes left. 888-291-8000 is the number to call. We are going to try to take more calls, but I do want to ask, if you have not called to make your pledge yet, maybe you could do so before the end of this hour, because the folks here in the building are waiting to take your call. They'll stay a few minutes after work to make sure they've gotten every call. If it's after that, you can go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. But right now, perfect time to pick up the phone and call 888-291-8000, 888-291-8000. Take advantage of both of the matches we have right now. The match for every pledge up to $15,000, and then an additional match, 100% match, an additional 100% match for anybody who starts a new new recurring monthly pledge. Whether that's in the amount of $10, $15, $20 a month, $50 a month, $100 a month, whatever, up to $115,000. Those are all matched right now at 888-291-8000. Let's go back to the phones. Let's get. I'll trust you to make that phone call, and we'll go back to the phones, and we'll go to Keith in Texas, listening on 1430 AM. Keith, we're glad to have you. Go ahead with your question for Jimmy.
Hello, Si. Hello, Jimmy.
Hi, Keith.
can you clarify for me what's the similarities and what's the differences in Anyhu and the marvelous name of our God Yahweh?
Okay, well, so Anihu in Hebrew is a phrase that means I am He. And if that is not unique to God, I mean, if Cy Kellett said to me in Hebrew, "Are you Jimmy Akin?" I could say, Anihu, I am He. But it also can be used, and in some circles is used, as a name for God. So it is a possible divine name. It is obviously not the same as the divine name Yahweh. In Hebrew, God has multiple different names. Sometimes he's called El, which is the Hebrew word for God. Sometimes he's called Eliyahu. Sometimes he's called El Elyon. Sometimes he's called Eliah. Sometimes he's called Elohim. And these are all, variations. They all have their individual meanings. In terms of the name Yahweh, we're not actually 100% sure what it means. There is speculation among scholars. It seems that it is related to the verb in Hebrew for to be or to exist, but it doesn't easily fit the normal verb forms. And so there's some ambiguity about exactly what it means and exactly about how it's supposed to be pronounced. But it is considered particularly special in the way it's treated in the Old Testament, as if it's more of a personal name than like El, which just means God. Yahweh is treated more like a personal name than some of these other names. But God he's not really hung up on what you call him as long as you talk to him. He knows you don't have to use Hebrew, you don't have to use Aramaic, you don't have to use Greek. As long as you're talking to him, he knows, and that's what he cares about.
Keith, I hope that's helpful for you. Thank you very, very much for the call. Coming in the last moments now of our second day of our pledge drive. And I got to say thanks, because lots and lots of folks have suddenly picked up the phone and decided to call.
Awesome.
We're very, very grateful for that.
Yeah.
The number is 888-291-8000. The person you speak to will be here in the building with us, one of our colleagues. They have taken these couple hours that we're on the air just to sit by the phones and get ready for your calls. And it means everything that you call. If you want to visit with them, you want to tell them why you like Catholic Answers. People love hearing these stories. I was speaking with some people this morning who were saying just how much fun it is to hear people call up and say, I want to make my $10 pledge, and this is why it matters to me to support Catholic Answers. And my goodness, it's wonderful. But also, they're trained. We do these trainings so they can get you done in about 60 or 90 seconds.
We really do. We have literal training sessions for this.
And everybody but Brandon is just great at it.
But Brandon has other things to do.
You're good at other things, Brandon.
He's running the board.
He gives himself a hand. I guess that's the privilege of the board guy. Give himself a round of applause. But if you want to get it done quickly, get it done quickly. If you want to say hello, then say hello. But we appreciate your call, because they take the time to be ready to take your calls. Just a couple lines opened up now. 888-291-8000 is the number. As I said before.
And by a couple, Cy means 8.
8 lines opened up?
Well,
you can see it better than I can. See, I can't.
7, actually.
Oh, okay.
At the moment.
I only saw a couple. That's an age-related effect. 888.
No, I've got a screen in front of me.
Yeah, that screen's way over there for me. That's what I'm looking at, is that thing.
But we do need to hear from you. We're coming into the closing moments of the show, and we are not going to be able to talk to you after the show is over, but we will have people who will be here as long as the phones keep ringing. So even though it's right after the show, you can still call in 888-291-8000. And also, you can go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. So if you're not in North America and it's not easy for you to call, you can still support the show. You can still keep its work going. And you can do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you're listening on a time-delayed basis, like by podcast, or you go back and watch one of the videos on Facebook or YouTube and you see this episode, by all means, you can still go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com and support the show. Finally, you can also text. You can text the word Catholic to 24365. That's Catholic to 24365 and make your donation that way. We've set up all these ways to try to make it easy for you to be able to support the show, and that benefits not only us, it benefits all the people who listen to the show, so you're not just helping yourself and your family, you're helping everybody who hears the show, and you're helping support God's Word. God says He loves a cheerful giver, and He will give eternal rewards to those who support this message going out. So please give us a call. Now is a great time, 888-291-8000.
Thanks to all those who just picked up the phone and made those $10 recurring pledges. Those were all tripled, and we're about 93% of the way to reaching our hourly goal. So we can reach this hourly goal still in the next few minutes if you'll pick up the phone and call. 888-291-8000. Tomorrow, back with 2 hours open forum. Tim Staples. See you there, God willing, right here on Catholic Answers Live.